إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الحدي حدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, continuing from the story of Musa alayhi salam and Firawn, and just to give a short recap of what we did last week. Firawn was from amongst the tyrants, the oppressors, people of the past. And we have Bani Israel, the children of Israel. And remember, we mentioned that Israel was also referred to as Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam. And Musa alayhi salam, he came from the lineage of Ibrahim and Ishaq and Yaqub. He came from the children of Israel, Bani Israel. And Pharaoh, he was oppressive on the people, and he used to beat them, sometimes till death. He used to oppress them in ways we could only imagine. But they had a harsh and severe oppression from the tyrant Pharaoh, because he used to deem himself as a god above the people. He used to deem himself as the one who is highest and above the people. So he used to do as he pleased with them. And remember, they were a superstitious people, and he had a dream. And he went to his soothsayers and the high priests and the chiefs among his people, and they mentioned that this dream is concerning the destruction of the cups of Egypt and the freedom of Bani Israel. So he came up with a plan to start slaughtering all the male newborn children. I remember Musa alayhi salam, he came in the year of the slaughtering. And then when his mother gave birth to him, and Allah mentioned to her that if she fears, she should put him in the basket, and when she feels safety, she should take him from the basket. And Allah also mentioned that we will return him to you. We will return him back to you. And one day Allah made the basket let loose from the rope that used to tie it. And Musa alayhi salam, as a newborn baby, flowing down the river in the basket, and ended up in the palace of Pharaoh, the same tyrant who was trying to prevent the qadr. And Musa alayhi salam, he grew up in the palace of Pharaoh. He was fed and clothed and educated in the palace of firawn. And he became a big man, and he left Egypt due to certain circumstances, and he went to a land called Madian, where he got married and he had his family. And then he wanted to go back to Egypt, Misr. And while on his way back there, he received revelation, and Allah ordered him to go to Firawn and call him to Tawheed, and for Firawn to release the children of Israel from the oppression, the tyrannical rulership that he had over them. And Musa and his brother Harun, they went to Firawn. And he preached to Firawn about Tawheed. And he mentioned Allah is my Lord and your Lord. He is the Lord of the east and the west. He is the Lord of the heavens and the earth and everything in between. But every time he came to Firawn, Firawn just keep rejected. Call him a madman, call him a magician. He kept on rejecting the call of Tawheed. But he could not continue arguing with Musa alayhi salam. So Firawn got fed up, and he mentioned that if you continue, I will surely lock you up with the prisoners. And Musa mentioned to him, even if I bring you a sign, even if I bring you something that is manifest, even if I bring you something that is convincing, and Pharaoh mentioned, bring forth what you have if you are truthful. And Musa alayhi salam threw down a stick, and the miracle took place, whereby the stick turned into a snake, manifest. And Pharaoh said that this is magic, and he called his chiefs and the elders amongst them, and he counseled with them, and he mentioned this is magic. Put him off for another day, whereby we could challenge him in front of the people, so that the people could see us defeating him. So they put off Musa alayhi salam for the day of the festival to challenge him. And then when was that day? The people gathered in a huge mass, in a huge quantity. And the magicians, the best amongst them, from all over the different lands, they came to challenge Musa alayhi salam. And Musa alayhi salam told them, come forth with what you have. And they had some ropes and some sticks, and they threw it down. And it started to wiggle like a snake due to the concoction of whatever chemistry or whatever substances they threw on it. So it started to move in the form of a snake. But then Musa alayhi salam, he took a stick and he threw it down, and it turned into a snake manifest, and it devoured their falsehood. And then the magicians, they fell down prostrate. They fell down prostrate, and they mentioned, we believe in the Lord of Musa and Harun. We believe in the Lord of the forefathers. We believe in the Lord of the alaihim. And Pharaoh turned to them and mentioned, you believe when I did not give you permission to do that? And Pharaoh mentioned, verily, I will cut off your hands and your feet on opposite sides. And verily, I will crucify you. Verily, I will kill you. And they mentioned, do as you please. We will return to our Lord, and he is most forgiving, most merciful. So that is where we left off from last week, where the magicians, they submitted to Tawheed because they came across the truth. And here this is something whereby we should take example, because sometimes we may be traversing upon falsehood. We may be wrong in a situation, and when the truth comes, some people, they don't like to hold on to the truth and leave off their falsehood. They want to continue on falsehood. following in the footsteps of the shaitan, following upon ignorance, arrogance, and pride. So here, when the truth comes, they held on to it. And likewise, this is an example for us. When the truth comes, no matter who it comes from, we hold on to it and we leave off the wrong that we were upon. And they submitted, even though Firawn threatened them with death and he killed them. Even though he threatened to take off their hands and their feet on opposite sides and crucify them, even death was facing them, they did not back down and turn away. They held on firmly. They did not go astray. They did not wander. They held on to the truth and traversed upon it, even though death, imminent death, oppression, the tyrannical ruler Firawn was in front of them. And they submitted to Tawheed. Allah is my Lord and your Lord. And then Allah mentions, and the sorcerers fell down prostrate, saying, we believe in the Lord of the alaihim, the Lord of Musa and Harun. Firawn said, you have believed in him before I gave you leave, before I gave you permission. Surely he indeed is your chief, who taught you magic. Firawn is accusing the magicians, those who submitted, of being in conspiracy with Musa alayhi salam. So verily you shall come to know, verily I will cut off your hands and your feet on opposite sides, and I will crucify you all. And it is mentioned from one of the Sahaba that the magicians, they started the day as magicians, as disbelievers, but they ended that day as believers. Allah also mentioned, and we inspired Musa, saying, take away my slaves by night, verily you will be pursued. So after this encounter with Firawn and the back and forth, and the day of the festival, and Musa being given a miracle and being victorious over Firawn time and time again, and with Firawn killing the magicians, after that Allah sent plagues upon the people of Misr, the people of Egypt. But after some time, Allah ordered Musa alayhi salam to take Bani Israel and leave at night. To take them and leave that place at night. And they were ordered to go, as some of the Salaf mentioned, the promised land. And this is one of the reasons why we have all this sort of war going on in Palestine. Because those who claim that they are Jews, the President Netanyahu and these people, and they are killing the Palestinians for the land, they believe that this is the promised land that they were given. But there is a very important point and lesson in this. So Allah mentioned to Musa, take Bani Israel and come out of that land, travel by night. Then Firawn sent callers to the cities. When Musa alayhi salam took Bani Israel and they left by night, after some time, Firawn, he got information of this. So Firawn sent callers to all the different cities to gather up an army, because he wanted to go after them to annihilate them. He wanted to go after them to wipe them off of the face of the earth. And remember, these people, they were slaves under oppression under this tyrannical ruler. What could they possibly have to gather an army? Back then you had camels and horses. What wealth could these people possibly have to fight against Firawn, who was the ruler at that time over the people? So it mentioned that he called to the different cities to gather an army. Then Pharaoh sent callers to all the cities. Verily, these indeed are but a small band. So he's watching Bani Israel as a small group, as a weak group, because they don't have wealth, they don't have status, they don't have anyone standing with them besides the Lord of the alaihim, the Lord of Musa and Harun. And verily, they have done what has enraged us. So he gathered his army, and he is like chaining up the army to go and slaughter these people because they have done us wrong. They have enraged us. But we are host, all assemble, amply forewarned. So we expel them from gardens and springs, treasures and every kind of honorable place. So Pharaoh and his people, they are expelled from the paradise. Thus we turn Pharaoh and his people out, and we cause the children of Israel to inherit them. So they pursued them at sunrise. So when Musa and his people left at sunrise, Pharaoh was able to gather the army, and he went after them. Now these people, they are going on foot or whatever they may have to carry them. And Pharaoh, he has a well-equipped army, the latest of the latest and the best of everything. And they are pursuing them. And when the two hosts saw each other, the companions of Musa alayhi salam said, "We are sure to be overtaken." Musa said, "Nay, verily with me is my Lord, he will guide me." So when Bani Israel, they left, they came to what we know as the Red Sea. So the sea is facing them, and Allah mentioned that when the two hosts met each other, Bani Israel is stating, "Verily today we are destroyed. Verily today we are doomed." Because why? The big ocean is in front of them, and behind them is Pharaoh and his mighty army. They feel as if there is no way out. But Musa alayhi salam, the one who is firm in conviction and yaqeen, in certainty and truth, in knowledge about Allah, he mentioned, "Nay, verily Allah is with me and he will guide me. Allah will make a way for us." This is the way of the believers. No matter what is in front of us or behind us or whatever obstacle is surrounding us, we never lose hope in Allah. So Musa alayhi salam mentioned, "Verily with me is my Lord, he will guide me." Then we inspired Musa alayhi salam, saying, "Strike the sea with your stick." And it parted, and each separate part became like huge firm mass of a mountain. So here Allah mentioned, and he gave revelation, and he inspired Musa alayhi salam to strike the sea with his staff. And another miracle happened, whereby the sea started to split. And in the tafsir it mentioned there was 12 separate pathways, because remember, Bani Israel, they came from the 12 sons of Yaqub alayhi salam. So there were 12 pathways, one for each tribe. And as they started to pass, and they were making some way over, Pharaoh and his army is behind them. They want to annihilate them. So Musa alayhi salam struck the sea, and the water started to part, and it started to mount up like huge mountains, firm mass, whereby they were able to go across. And Allah mentioned then we inspired Musa, strike the sea with your stick, and it parted, and each separate part became like a huge firm mass, mountain. Then we brought near the others, meaning Firawn and his party, to that place. And we saved Musa and all those with him. Then we drowned the others. So Allah mentioned that when the sea parted, the 12 different parts, Bani Israel was able to cross over. And they made it safely to the other side. But while Firawn and his army were crossing, Allah caused the sea, the huge mountain of the sea, to collapse, and Firawn and his army were destroyed. They were annihilated. Remember, we have a small army, we have a small group, and then we have this large group, Firawn and his tyrannical people, well equipped, an army that is well equipped and versed. They have the latest of the latest, everything on their side. And the people were starting to lose hope. But the believers are those who increase in belief. No matter what obstacle is in front of us, no matter what obstacle is in our way, we increase and we have the hope that Allah will guide us, Allah will protect us, Allah will make a way for us out of every situation. And Allah saved Musa and Bani Israel, and Allah destroyed Firawn and his army. And then Allah mentioned, verily, in this is indeed a sign, a proof, yet most of them are not believers. This indeed is a sign for the believers. When we hear stories like this, we increase in belief. We increase in taking these stories as an example, that no matter what obstacle, whatever hardship may face us, we increase in Allah's mercy. We increase in hoping for Allah's reward and His bounty. And then Allah mentions, and verily your Lord, He is truly almighty, the most merciful. Allah is the one who has ultimate might and power to perfection. Firawn thought that he had might and power, and he thought that he could gather all the armies from the different cities and make one huge big army and be of might and power. But Allah is the one who has might and power. And Bani Israel thought of themselves as those who did not have any might or any power. But Allah grants victory to those whom He please. Allah gives aid and support to those whom He is pleased with. And Allah is most merciful. We say Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman, Allah is most merciful to everyone, every being, the believers and the disbelievers. But here, Allah is Ar-Rahim. His mercy is specific for the believers. So when we say Ar-Rahman, His mercy encompasses the believers and also the disbelievers. Allah also shows them mercy. Allah gives them some good from this dunya. Sometimes Allah gives them good in this life. Allah also guides them to Islam. Sometimes Allah blesses whom He wants from that mercy. But when it comes to Ar-Rahim, this is specifically for the believers. And Allah showed them mercy, most mercy on that day, by allowing them to traverse safely across the path to safety. And He destroyed the army that was well equipped, coming to annihilate them. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu, lahul mulku wa lahul hamd, wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala, amma ba'd. So again, looking at this this story of Musa and Firawn, Firawn had plans of his own, but they could never overtake the qadr of Allah. His plans could never overtake the will of Allah. Firawn wanted this to oppress and be tyrannical and he wanted to annihilate Musa alayhi salam and Bani Israel. But he was overtaken by the qadr of Allah. Many lessons for us. Musa's mother, she was tested and she was tried to the extent whereby when Musa alayhi salam as a baby was in the palace of Firawn, she wanted to reveal his identity, but Allah strengthened her. And this is something we need to start begging Allah for. Strength, firmness, guidance, protection. Allah is almighty, all powerful. So we seek might and we seek power, we seek protection from Allah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no might nor power except by Allah. And Allah strengthened her. And Allah fulfilled his promise to her. He returned Musa alayhi salam back to his mother. Musa alayhi salam, he grew up in the house, in the palace of Firawn. So Firawn took care of his enemy. Such is from the might and the power and the wisdom of Allah. Allah allowed Firawn to take care of the enemy that will soon come to destroy him. Musa alayhi salam, he grew up to be a big man. He was given prophethood and he traversed the land. And he came to Firawn, and the first message each prophet and messenger came with was the message of Tawheed. This is the first thing which we call the people to. We don't come and call the people to jihad. We don't come and call the people to the Mahdi. We don't come and call the people to establish a caliphate. The first thing you call the people to is to worship Allah alone and avoid worshiping anything besides Allah. And then you have the tribulations that Pharaoh tried to encroach upon Musa and his people. And he threatened Musa with imprisonment. Here is for us to stand firm again, no matter what obstacles we may face. And they were ordered to leave that tyrannical place. Sometimes you have to migrate from the evil society that you are in and go to somewhere that is more suitable and sustainable for your Islam. This was also the case of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he migrated from Mecca to Medina. He migrated from Mecca to Medina. Why? Because the oppression was very harsh. And Allah ordered him to migrate. And he migrated and he established Islam amongst the people there. And he was able to leave Medina and conquer Mecca. So sometimes you have to leave the environment, remove yourself from that evil environment and go to a better environment. Leave off the block and start to function at the masjid. Leave off the evil dwelling places, whether it's the pubs, the bars, the places where men and women intermingle with each other, the cinemas and the likes of. Leave off these places and start to function at the masjid. Come for the Juma, come for the Salah, come for the lectures, come when there are things going on in the masjid. Leave off those evil places. And time again, Allah tested them. No matter whatever obstacle you face, whether you face the sea in front of you, the army of Pharaoh behind you, whether you have to go to court, whether you are facing the magistrate, you are facing the police, the army, whether it's somebody in the neighborhood threatening to take your life, whether it is your wife, she threatening you with divorce, whether it is your children, somebody is sick, you have bills to pay, you have finances, you're under the strain, you're under the pressure, you're under pain. No matter what, hasbi Allahu wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is sufficient for us, and He's the best disposer of our affairs. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وأقم الصلاة.